Wait, you're not Emily. The tall man's voice froze her in place. The woman's heart skipped a beat. The name he spoke wasn't hers, but before she could explain, he smiled, a calm, knowing smile, and said, "Drive me to the office. We'll talk on the way." That was the moment Clara Mason realized her life was about to spin completely out of control. Clara wasn't supposed to be at the airport that morning. She was supposed to be home, job hunting online, worrying about rent, and drinking cheap coffee, but when her sister Emily, who worked as a professional chauffeur for a luxury company, called in sick, Clara had agreed to cover her last-minute airport pickup. "All you have to do," Emily said, "is hold the sign with his name, Mr. Stone, and drop him off at the Langford Tower. He's probably another overworked businessman." Clara had laughed. "I can handle that." She didn't expect the man she picked up to be the billionaire CEO himself. She stood at the arrival gate in a plain black blazer and a borrowed driver's cap, holding the sign, "Mr. Stone, Langford Corporation." When the crowd parted, a tall man in a charcoal suit approached. His presence turned heads instantly. Sharp eyes, calm authority, the kind of confidence money couldn't buy, but power could. He stopped in front of her, his piercing gaze landing on the sign, then on her. "You must be Emily," he said. Clara froze. Her pulse quickened. She opened her mouth to correct him. But something in his tone, smooth and commanding, stopped her. "Yes, sir," she said quietly, her voice steady but her heart racing. He nodded. "Good. Let's go. I don't like wasting time." The car ride began in silence. The only sound was the hum of the engine and the quiet tapping of rain on the windshield. Clara kept her eyes forward, gripping the steering wheel tightly. She wanted to tell him the truth, that she wasn't Emily, that she was just filling in, but every time she looked in the rearview mirror, she saw his focused, unreadable face. He was on a call, his voice deep and controlled. "Cancel the meeting. Tell them I'm back early, and find me the file on the Mason proposal." Her heart skipped at the name. Mason. Her last name. He leaned forward slightly. "Emily, how long have you been driving for Langford?" Clara swallowed hard. "A few months, sir. Do you like it?" She hesitated. "It's honest work." For the first time, his lips curved slightly. Honesty. That's rare these days. Something in his tone made her chest tighten. Halfway through the drive, a storm hit hard. Heavy rain, flooded streets, and traffic lights failing one after another. "Take the long route," he instructed. "I'd rather get there safe than fast." Clara nodded, but fate had other plans. As they crossed a bridge, the car jolted violently. A tire burst. Clara pulled over quickly, heart pounding. He glanced at her, calm as ever. "Do you know how to fix it?" She shook her head. "No, sir." Without a word, he stepped out into the pouring rain, jacket off, rolling up his sleeves. Clara rushed to join him, grabbing the umbrella. "You don't have to. I don't like waiting," he said simply. As the rain poured harder, they worked together. Him loosening bolts, her holding the light and umbrella. Their hands brushed once, and for a moment, the world felt still. When the tire was fixed, both stood soaked under the faint glow of the streetlight. He looked at her, rain dripping from his hair. His voice softer now. "You're not like the others," he said. Clara's breath caught. "The others?" He nodded slowly. "Most people hide behind smiles. You don't." Her heart raced, torn between truth and the lie she was living. They arrived at the Langford Tower an hour later. As he stepped out, he turned back to her. "Thank you, Emily. Not many would stay calm under pressure." She forced a small smile. "Just doing my job, sir." Before he could leave, his phone buzzed. He answered, and froze. "What do you mean Emily's still sick?" he said sharply into the phone. Clara's stomach dropped. His eyes flicked to her. "Then, who's been driving me for the past 2 hours?" Clara's mouth went dry. "Mr. Stone, I can explain." But before she could finish, he hung up the call, expression unreadable. "So," he said quietly, stepping closer, "who are you really?" She lowered her eyes. Clara Mason, Emily's sister. She was sick. I didn't want her to lose her job. He studied her face for a long moment. Then, to her surprise, he laughed. It wasn't cruel. It was quiet, almost amused. Brave move, Miss Mason. Over the next week, Clara couldn't stop thinking about him. She expected to get her sister fired, but instead, a letter arrived. To Clara Mason. You handled yourself with integrity under pressure. I'd like to offer you a position at Langford Corporation. Not as a driver, but as a personal assistant. If you're as honest as you were that day, you'll fit right in. William Stone. Clara's hand shook as she read it. Her sister laughed in disbelief. You picked up a billionaire by mistake, and he picked you for a job. Working for William Stone wasn't easy. He was demanding, precise, and rarely smiled. But sometimes, when their eyes met in the hallway, she saw a flicker of warmth, a spark she couldn't ignore. He would ask her questions during late meetings, about her family, her dreams, her honesty. And one night, as they stood by the office window overlooking the city lights, he said softly, You know, I used to think trust was just a word. But you proved me wrong. She looked up at him, heart trembling. You mean the day I lied to you? He smiled faintly. You lied to protect someone else. That's different. There was a pause. Then, I'm glad you picked me up that day, Miss Mason. Her cheeks warmed. It was a mistake, remember? He shook his head. The best mistake I've ever made. Months later, as Clara rose through the company ranks, she discovered something unexpected. William Stone wasn't just her boss. He was also the secret investor who had once funded her late father's small business before it went bankrupt. She confronted him gently one evening. You helped my father once. He smiled softly, and now you're helping me remember what that kindness was for. In that moment, everything connected. Fate, chance, and one rainy airport pickup. A year later, the Langford ballroom glittered with lights for a company gala. As Clara stood by the staircase, now the executive director of corporate outreach, William approached with that same calm smile. Do you still think it was a mistake? He asked quietly. She laughed. If it was, I hope I keep making the same kind. He took her hand gently. Then let's call it destiny instead, and under the soft golden lights, surrounded by the hum of applause and music, they began their next chapter. Not as boss and assistant, but as two souls brought together by fate disguised as error. She picked up the wrong man, but found the right future. Life's most beautiful stories aren't planned. They're stumbled into by accident, written by fate, and held together by honesty. Comment Destiny if this story touched your heart. Tell us where you're watching from. Subscribe for more cinematic stories about love, courage, and the miracles hiding in mistakes.